Hi, I'm Lou, and today I'm going to show you how I installed my tankless water heater. This is going to be a little bit different than my other how-to videos because I'm not showing you exactly how to do it. Obviously I've already done it. I'm just going to show you some of the things that I did to kind of give you a feel for the project. But if you're going to install your own, you need to carefully read through the manual that came with your water heater and follow all the rules and regulations that are appropriate for your water heater. These things, even though they're really small compared to a normal water heater, they actually have 3 times the heating capacity. So that means 3 times the fire and 3 times the boom if something goes wrong, I guess. You really need to read your own manual. Make sure you get the chimney pieces right. Make sure you get the gas line, the water line, the electric, all that correct so that you have a safe installation. First of all, I had to mount the thing on the wall, and before I had this one, I had right about where I am standing, regular 50-gallon water heater, tank water heater. It had a chimney on it that kind of went over sideways and out through that hole in the concrete wall. I ripped that all out and then measured how high I wanted this so that I could have my chimney go up and turn and go right out the wall. You want to make this chimney piece as, short as possible. So you're just, these guys are really expensive actually. Each piece is like $50. I just took a concrete drill and drilled into the wall 4 screw holes, and there's metal tabs up here. I used anchor bolts and bolted it into the wall. Put these chimney pieces together and in and through. You can get all these at the hardware store, and you just push them together, and then you flip down the metal. There's a metal tab that you stick in. You sort of stick the metal tab in. It kind of goes like this, and then you flip it back and then put a metal ring over it. That's what this metal ring is right here, over the metal tab to hold them all together. And then it should go through the wall, and then it went pointing down. Okay, let's take a look at what I did with the hot and cold lines first. Under here, my hot line was marked with a red and the cold is blue. They provide this piece out the water heater, and the first piece I needed was this little brass guy here. And that's just a brass T with threads all around. I actually don't have the piece that goes into it, but I have another one that's threaded, and I can show you. See, that'll thread right in there. The way I threaded it was, you buy this Teflon tape up and you wrap several times around the threaded end like that, maybe 4 or 5 times, and then screw this in. And you'll have to use wrenches, of course. You screw that in really tight, screw it down, and the Teflon tape forms a seal between these two, and it won't leak. So anyway, a lot of these things are screwed together in that way. So this is a pop-off valve that if the pressure gets too high for whatever reason, this has a spring load, and it will pop and send water down, and this just goes down into my sump pump drain. Teed off, and then this is a 2-way, it's called a nipple. It has threads on both sides. It's right in the middle. It's just a little piece of pipe that long, threaded on both sides. To another T with, I don't know what they call that, some kind of a cork, a screw-in cork into the bottom of that one. And that is for later. You'll notice on both on the hot and the cold, I have those because once a year you're supposed to shut off the water and then uncork these and put in a pump and pump like an acid wash. You run through there for about 30 minutes to clean out any calcium inside the heater. Maybe when I'll do that, I'll do a video explaining how I do that. Anyway, those are that's that cork, and then another nipple here, and then a shut-off valve, and I have one of those here. Here's my shut-off valve. It's a ball valve. You just basically, if you look in there, you can't see through it because it's off, and then when you open it, you can see right through it. And screwed that in on both sides. I since though went to the hardware store and I found this, and I would recommend this one instead. Instead of threads, it's press-on. Notice I actually took one of these with it's got a copper tube end. You press a copper tube into that and then thread this end right into the valve. So I have that, and then I put my copper tube in like so. Well, I found out that you can just buy a valve like this that already has the copper end in it. So, you know, why buy 3 pieces when you can just buy this one? And let me demonstrate how this works. Basically, that's just a kind of a safety cap that can come off. These are really neat. Instead of having to use a torch and put copper together with solder or flux, you just take this piece. If you look inside there, there's little metal teeth all the way around inside this thing, and then at the very bottom, around the outside edges, there's a rubber O-ring. What happens is you take a piece of copper pipe, cut it to length, and shove it in like this. Done. That's literally how you hook it up. You just push a piece in there and you can use it under pressure now, water pressure. You don't have to solder anything. And actually, you can, it's not that easy, but you can press down on this, literally pull that copper piece back out. It's not real easy, but can be done in case you make a mistake. Depends on the hardware store you go to, but here's some other ones. These are press-ins also. It's a different kind. I don't remember the brand names of either one of them, but that's another option. There's an elbow in that, and here's an elbow in this. I like these better because you can literally press down by hand. These supposedly you need a special tool to press on these to get them apart. So, but the tool's cheap too. So whatever your hardware store sells, you can do these pressed together copper ends. So, back in there, there's my elbow, and then up. And I started using that pipe insulation just because it's my hot water line. I didn't want to lose any heat. Up and over. There's another elbow, press-in elbow. There, press. And finally, I connected to the old water line that used to come down to the old water heater. Now for my cold water line. And this one, according to my manual, I had to use a check valve, which only lets water flow one way. I guess in this case it would be in, and here's what that looks like. You can see it's like a spring-loaded thing, and only water can go in that way. Make sure there's an arrow on it that shows direction of flow, so you only want it to go in, and that screws on to the existing fixture that came with the unit, and then another nipple in between. One of these guys, the T for a clean out to run the acid through it, and then I convert to the press in, screw in on this side, press in on that side, which looks like that, and then piece of copper pipe all the way, elbows and whatnot, and eventually I make it back to my cold water supply. And now for the gas. So the unit already came with this shut-off valve right here, and then I had to add going that way. Here's a valve, and here's the pipe. All this stuff is available at the hardware store. All the gas pipes are together. You just take this piece of pipe, and just like I wrapped with Teflon tape on the water pipes, you wrap this with Teflon tape for gas, basically, and you just take that and wrap that around several times, 4 or 5 times, on all your gas lines. On the gas, you always use the yellow tape. On the water, you use the white tape. Anyway, once you do that, you screw these guys together. There's that. This is just an example pipe. These pipes come in all different lengths. I just grabbed one as an example. Here's an elbow piece. You screw that into there. Again, you got to see my yellow tape. And there's a short nipple. Look that it's only, you know, probably that long. This is a union. The way a union, again, screws in from this side and from the other side. Union's right like this, or actually like this. And it's so that you can take the thing apart. If you ever want to disconnect this, you shut off this, and you just pull it apart like this, and then put it back together like this. So it's always recommended that when you're doing gas work, you have a union right before the device, and then put up, obviously, shut-off valve before that. If you shut it off, disconnect. To the other valve here, I screwed in, then a nipple, then a T. This is my gas line going up. This, a straight pipe hanging down to catch sediment, and a cap on the end. So if you look at any gas installations, they have a little, I don't know, like a 4-inch pipe with a cap on the end, very close to the unit. Next, we need to hook the hard gas line to a flexible gas line. That's what this is here, and that's what this piece is for. I guess you don't have to. You can use these pieces and just work your way, but flexible is so much easier because you can just, you know, obviously flex it to where you want to go. You know, I realized I neglected earlier to show you how I cut the copper pipe. Here's some flexible pipe, the gas pipe, and here's the copper water pipe, and you use the same methods to cut both of them. So one is this tubing cutter. You unwind this, put it on the end of the thing. You see it has a little cutting wheel right there. Put it on there, tighten it down, and roll around, and it cuts, and then you roll a little bit more, it cuts more until it finally comes off. Same thing with this. Tighten this guy down. By the way, I took this off. I told you I could pull it out, and I did. I managed to pull that out. So it is possible to get them out. And this there, I want to cut that one. Round you go, cut, round you go, cut. I'm tightening it as I go. There. Just cut a piece off with the cutter. This method isn't quite as good for going into these push-in ones because it kind of widens the end just a little bit to where it's hard to get in those. So that's one way. The better way to cut, at least to go into there, is with a hacksaw. Just line it up and saw it like you would a piece of wood. Cut a piece off of that. You can also use the hacksaw for the yellow gas line. Obviously, cut it off. And if you happen to have one of these on hand, this is what I actually used. It's an angle grinder with a metal cutting blade. It just zips right through that, or this, both ways. This end goes onto the, hooks onto the flexible gas line, and then it has threads right there that you screw into your hard stuff. The way you hook this to a hard line is with that, put this piece on it, and they say to cut back 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 bumps. Take the plastic off. Put this brass tightener ring on first, then the split ring down to the fourth valley, then the solid ring goes on next, then the rubber ring, O-ring, goes on next, and then finally this piece goes on like this. You basically screw this into this. I think they say it's like just a quarter turn past hand tight. You have to read the instructions, but put that together like this. Now you have a flex line, and you can just bend this thing anywhere you want and connect this to your hard line gas. This is my converter to flex, and then I run my flex up, over. Eventually, this is my gas line coming in. Electrical was pretty easy. Just there was a power cord coming out of here. Just ran it up, over, snaked it back down, and plugged it in. To hook up the terminal, you actually had to take the lid off. Like this. There's 4 screws and it came off. There's a pigtail on the end you just screw. It says remote control terminal, just screw those in, easy. While we're in here, you know, hot and cold water pipes over here, a gas line going in here. The whole circuitry is right here, this little plastic box. There's a fan right back in there that blows through to give this thing air, and this whole thing in here is a big combustion chamber. It's really neat to look at it from the top when you take the chimney off. It looks like a big radiator core. Must be have raging flames inside. And that's it. That's how I installed mine. And again, I want to emphasize that you read your manual and follow it exactly. These things I've given you are just kind of some things that I did, you know, ideas of what you can do, but do read your own manual and make sure you follow your own guidelines. Thanks for watching, and good luck installing your heater.